Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the King and I Life podcast with me, Soul Touching the Poet, and my brother in this joint.
Sounds so Lex.
Yo, yo, coming back with the topic: what do you do when love turns deadly? How a couple husband killed by wife. So we're gonna jump back into it. You know how to reach us. Website www.kingandilife.com, social media, podcast platforms, all that good stuff. So let's just jump back into it. So Lex, what would you want to drop on people before we took that break?
Yes, sir. So the topic at hand was is this a form of love? Meaning with the abuse. So me and my first wife, we had an episode where I had some family that came in from out of town, and I'm pretty sure I've expressed this story on the podcast and previous podcasts. But anyway, I went to go visit my family, and for whatever reason, in her mind, she got mad about it, even though I invited her to go with me. Um, and wasn't gone, to a crazy hour in the morning. I think I made it home maybe about 8 or 9, something like that. In the evening. It wasn't a crazy hour, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure of that. But anyway, by the time I got back home, our whole apartment, which was really my apartment, was
Wow.
trashed. Meaning every piece of furniture was turned over or spilt out, or I mean, just imagine a tornado coming into your living resident and doing this thing and
Mm.
then leaving. But my tornado was still there. So anyway, I see this and I'm like, what the hell?
Mm.
So at this point, she's going off, and I'm like trying to get her to calm down. Things didn't turn violent, but they turned really crazy, meaning all the shouting and yelling and all that, and being on the outside of the apartment with it. Like, what are you doing? So, anyway, make a long story short, I ended up having to call the police on my wife.
Mm.
Not my first
Mm.
choice, but under the circumstances, I felt like one, if this gets back to my job, I'm automatically fired because you can't have a domestic violence
Right.
situation and still maintain a career at this particular
That shit.
place. And two was, I'm like, again, if one of our neighbors call and say that, we're having a domestic violence situation, automatically when they get here, they're going to look at me as the aggressor, even though I'm, not in that mind frame. I'm just trying to get her to calm down. So anyway, the police come, they do their investigation, walking through my shit, looking like they looking for damn narcotics and shit. But anyway, it just turned into something that did not have to be that big. And believe me, that was definitely one of the signs that let me know this is not where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she even took my dang stuffed animal. I had this one stuffed animal my mom gave me, and she stabbed the shit out of it. Like, I had so many holes in this
Wow.
stuffed animal. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. You do this to a stuffed animal, you might want to do this to me. No.
Mm.
But that was definitely a lesson learned about when you pick your mate, make sure you know them.
You know what? People say that all the time. People say that all the time, but you never know a person until you know a person. And what I mean by that,
That is true.
like we had the podcast episode about the representative. You never know a person until you know a person. You can be with a joker 5, 10, 15 years, and you never know if that person has that in them or not. So it's not so much know a person before you get deeply involved or whatever the case may be, it's always, you have to always be observant of your situation and what's going on in it. That you have to do that on a regular basis, because you can
That's true.
have knight in shining armor, princess charming, or whatever the case may be. Everything can be rosy, and then one day, at the snap of a finger, that thing could turn upside down. You just do not know. But communication is a very important thing that has to go on in relationships. You have to communicate. You have to be able to um, keep your emotions in check. You have to be mentally healthy, mentally strong. You have to be resilient. You have to be able to practice restraint under whatever situation it is, because no one provokes you to do anything. A person can do something to upset you, but at the end of the day, the decision that you make, especially when it comes to inflicting harm on someone, that is a choice that you make. It doesn't matter what's going on. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, that is. Because with that particular marriage, I known her or had known her 7 years before we actually got
Mm,
married. We're cool now, but back then that was completely and totally different subject. So as well as I thought I knew her, I didn't know her. I had no clue that was something that was possible to come from her. But again, you live and you learn.
yeah,
So can in a abusive person
yeah, they
change?
can change. Anybody can change. I mean, hell, change is a part of life. Like, when you go from an infant to a toddler, you change. When you go from a toddler to an adolescent, you change. When you go from an adolescent to an adult, you change. Um, Again, a lot of this stuff a lot of these things are learned behaviors. So if you learn to be abusive, you can learn to not be abusive, because most times you weren't always like that. It's a matter of where you pick that up from, where your head is at, where your heart is at. So yeah, people can change. Um, you know, some people are able to. Some people are in these situations and are able to make it through with change. Um, some men stick by their women, some women stick by their man, no matter how long it takes. If that's what works for them, that's what works for them. Some
Right.
people just walk away and do whatever they have to do. Some people come back together and live a fruitful relationship. Some people walk away and time heals things, and they're cordial and whatever the case may be, but never get back together. So people can change.
Yeah, I definitely think certain people can change. I'm not gonna say all people can change. um, it's one of those things you have to want to change. I remember watching this episode of I think it was Jerry Springer. Was it Jerry Springer or Maury? But anyway, they had this couple on where the man was very abusive towards his wife, and anyway, they showed them videotaping him, and he didn't know he was being videotaped.
Mm,
So once they came on the show, they started talking about it, and they showed the
mm,
video of him being abusive, and it was kind of crazy because he started basically crying like a baby when he saw himself committing this act against his
mm,
woman. So some years later, I want to say like 2 or 3 years later, I remember watching the show again, and they brought that couple back, and they're talking about how much he had
mm,
changed. Like he really got his life together, going to church, and being a better husband and father to their kids. Now, I don't know how true it is, but that's what they said on the show. So that, again showed me that people like that can change if he indeed or indeed
I don't
change.
know.
So
You remember that show Cheaters?
yeah,
It was a lot of domestic violence on that show. A lot of
yeah,
intimate
yeah, it
partner
was.
abuse and stuff on that show. And when you were just talking
Hmm.
about Jerry Springer or Maury, whatever it was, that show came to mind because and looking, and I used to love that show, but looking back at it, that was toxic. That was toxic entertainment because you know I get the basis of the show is to make people aware. Hey, if you have concerns about what your partner is doing, whatever the case may be, we're gonna put light to it. Get it? But
Right,
at the end of the day, it's like they were provoking or just okay with what might happen. Um, you know, it's like you're embarrassing a person on national TV, and in their minds, if a person is cheating or whatever, and you're showing this person as proof that they're cheating, they may not have been an abusive person from the beginning. Um, but you're showing this and you're showing this and you're feeding whatever the narrative is to this person, and they're getting angrier and angrier. You're not talking them down, you're egging them on. Um,
right,
and the crazy thing about this is that person may have never, ever, ever been abusive. So if you take the many episodes of that where a person ended up abusing their significant other, because I think it was more so the women abusing the men, but it was the men fighting the other man that got caught with their woman. I don't recall if any men
yeah,
hit their women on that show, but it's stuff like that you know our children or other people, they see this on TV and they get it in their head. Well, shit, if my boyfriend or my girlfriend or my wife or husband cheats on me, I'm gonna go whoop that ass. And it's like our society has been conditioned to act like that.
yeah, definitely. I mean, there are plenty of examples of. That's why I don't watch the whole. I think it's the Hallmark
Hallmark Channel.
channel. I think it is, or
Mm-hmm.
Lifetime, and they always have stories like that. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? And it's like,
It's Lifetime.
to
It's
me, it's
Lifetime
like
Channel.
you're programming. Yeah, you're programming yourself watching stuff like that. So it's kind of like if you find yourself, drawn to stuff like that, you can actually put it in the universe that I want a situation like that. People don't realize how energy works. But anyway, I can't watch shows like that. I can't watch the news anymore because they're constantly showing, violence or, something crazy going on. And it's kind of like for me, I just can't watch it. I don't give a damn if it's true or fake or whatever it is. You have to be in control of what you allow yourself to digest, whether that be, seeing something, hearing something, being a part of something. You have to be in control of you. And for me, not watching, you know, all of that mess is a big part of me protecting myself from.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it. I think more so it's the individual who has to manage themselves in that, um, because at the end of the day, you can't. It's crazy at the end of the day. Some people will um, use that as an excuse to behave in that way. Um,
Right.
and it's just crazy because and I understand people who don't watch the news because of, they show all this violence and negativity and blah blah blah. But like they say, the news would not be the news if it was all peaches and cream. Period. But people should be able to control themselves in situations like that because what I what I dislike in situations like this is a person does this to someone, they lose everything, and then they're regretful afterwards. And it's like, had you controlled yourself, you would not be in this situation. It's, to me, again, it's too easy to just walk away. I understand ego, I understand
Right.
pride, I understand emotions and this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, why would you want to inflict that type of harm on someone when you're going to, at some point, have to deal with the repercussions?
Exactly. It's just too much that you're putting on them. The whole, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, and baby, I won't do this again. This just this one time thing, and I just been going through some stuff at work, and you know, uh, what happened with my mama last week, and I just won't do this to you again, baby girl. You just gotta forgive me, and help me to help you, so I don't do this to you anymore.
Or why'd you
What?
make me do that? I don't do. I don't like. But why would you do that? Come on with all that nonsense. Get out of here.
Yeah, all that mess. Man, if you don't stop. But does seeking help for both parties make a difference?
It should.
Meaning,
It should. I mean, I look at it like this: if you know that you're a hothead and you know that you don't handle certain things well, um, you should automatically be looking into some type of help to um assist you with dealing with your anger and your emotions and all of that. um and for the other person, um seek help so that you're not a victim of that, or stay in a situation like that, because you
right,
know you it's not only that person who is beating you down, you're also beating yourself down. So um if the situation is one where seeking help at the same time going through that stuff helps both parties, then yes. But if it's one sided, then you know somebody has to make a decision to walk away. It doesn't matter which one. One of them has to say, hey, you know what, putting my hands on him or her is not who I am. Let me walk away from the situation. And the other person is, you know, I can't imagine being in a situation where somebody's putting their hands on me, whether you're a man or a woman. Got to walk away. I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
oh, definitely. I do think that both parties um, can help themselves by seeking counseling, or doing whatever it is they need to do in order to get through that situation in a positive way. Um, like you're saying, that the abusive person, meaning the person who's you know putting their hands on the other person, I think that there are some times where people can catch themselves, meaning once they realize, oh my God, what am I doing? They can stop and get the necessary help for themselves. They realize that they have an issue and they need help for it. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I need help to help me control myself or my anger issues. Nothing wrong with that at all. And then on the other side of it, the person who's being abused, they've been going through the process for so long that they start thinking to themselves, they were the ones who make the other person do it to them. Like I made too much noise last night and he got upset and this is why my eye is like this. But I really didn't mean to, make that much noise. It was all my fault. They find themselves constantly making excuses for the other
Facts.
person, whether that be, with their kids or their family or their friends or whoever. They take it on themselves saying that I was the cause of this person being that way towards
Mm-hmm.
me, which is the biggest lie ever. But because they've been going through so much, they start taking on that belief that, he's right or she's right. I did that. I made her do that. And, you know, it was my fault, so on and so forth. You got to get
You
help for
have
that.
to.
Because you basically mentally put yourself in a space that says it's okay for this person to abuse
Mm-hmm.
me. And I'll be the fall guy. I'll say that it's my
Right.
fault.
Exactly. So, does having kids make a difference? What's your opinion on that?
I don't think it does. I think someone who's abusive will be abusive regardless. They don't give a damn if their kids are in the room or, how they make that other person look in front of their kids or, make that other person look to their family around their kids. They just don't care. Again, someone who has psycho issues or mental issues, how are you going to convince them that they crazy?
Hmm.
I haven't seen it done that often. But when it comes down to people in those type of situations, it's never their fault. Look what you made me do. I didn't want to do that, but you kept egging me. You shouldn't have asked me what I want for breakfast. What? Just that type of nonsense right there. But when you have kids involved, it's oh man, it's kind of like throwing a damn rock into a pond or a steady uh, layer of water. Once you throw that rock, it creates a ripple
Mm-hmm.
effect and it keeps going on and on and on and on. And those ripple effects are usually your kids.
Not at all.
I remember being in the military. There was one particular couple that my parents were friends with, and we heard this loud ass knock on the door that night. Just on and on. We're like, what the hell is
Mm.
going on? So my dad gets up, he grabs his gun, like, this can't be a good thing
Nah.
here. So it turned out to be a couple that, my parents knew, and she's bloody, she's holding the
Mm.
kids, talking about, her mate had beat her ass and all that. And make a long story short, cops got called and he ended up getting arrested and all that. And it's like, man, my parents, they made us go back to
Mm.
bed. But still to this day, I remember that happening. I remember seeing the blood coming from her face and being on the baby's blanket as she's holding this child. And oh man, it's just the worst, bro. It's the worst. So anytime there are kids involved, oh my goodness, it just takes it to a whole nother level of the
Yeah.
chaos someone like that creates
Yeah.
being the aggressor.
Yeah, man. It. sometimes it don't matter if kids are in the situation because they overlook the kids and do what they do, and that's what it is. But I there may be situations where kids are involved and some people think twice and actually walk away. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter if kids are there. It's just a thing of you just shouldn't do it. It's harmful on too many levels, just too many levels.
Yeah, I mean, again, as a kid growing up watching as much violence as I did, it's a pure miracle that I did not turn out that way. And again, I'm not talking about my mom and my dad because my dad was not abusive at all. Um, it just growing up watching my aunties and uncles fight each other, after consuming
Mm,
alcohol. And it's funny because back then it was almost like going to a movie theater because anytime someone came to my grandparents' house and if they go to talking crazy, you get an ass whooping. That's just all there is to it. You are not leaving that yard without getting an ass whooping.
mm.
And we as kids, we would just, oh, oh, it's going
Mm-hmm.
down. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But watching that violence, we didn't even realize the consequences and the effect that watching stuff like that would have on us. Again, we were into wrestling and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, so it was like watching wrestling live and in
Right.
person.
Yeah.
At any moment, something could jump off at my grandparents' house. I laugh at it now, but back
Yeah.
then we just had
No
no
clue
clue.
what was going on, what it was, and all of that.
Yeah,
Mm,
man. It's like I've seen many of people get their ass whooped in my grandfather's yard.
mm,
Many. All it took was you saying the wrong thing or go to talking crazy. It was on.
mm,
They will always come back the next day and apologize, but still, you did not pull up in that yard and go acting crazy.
exactly. So I stay in the situation.
Um, People stay in situations like that for different reasons. I can't name them all, but I'll attempt to name a
Mm,
few. One, they're kids. Two, they don't have anywhere else to go. Three, mentally, they're so beat down and their mental capacity is so used to the trauma and drama that they're going through that they don't know how to break free
mm-hmm.
from it. Again, at that point, they've been trained to take it. So it's kind of like no matter how many of your family's members try to talk to you or tell you, you need to get away from this
Mm,
person, you up here thinking, well, I can change them. I can love them enough to make them get through this where they will love me the way that I want to be loved. When in all actuality, there are going to be situations where you can't love someone through that damn pain.
yeah.
You have to let their ass
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't add anything else to that. That's pretty much the bulk of the reasons why. I mean, other than a person is not tired of it yet. Um, Sometimes it takes time for people to get to that point where they want to walk away or feel they can walk away. But outside of that, yeah, it's just sad that love turns deadly and people end up killing their spouse and possibly themselves, and you know, and then they leave their children behind, or their family and friends behind, the communities behind, to deal with that. It's just a hard pill to swallow. So, man, I hope we get to the one day where this is no longer an issue for our society. Um, because I'm pretty sure that you saw the whatever the ex football Zach Stacy or whatever his name was, um, where he beat up his girlfriend in front of their child. Um,
Oh wow.
the video that I seen, I think he punched her or slapped her. She fell to the floor. TV fell on her, and he yanked her up or something. Like, boy. And the crazy part is, you have two different camera angles of this. You have one from this side of the room and one from this side of the room, and it's like he really, yeah, ridiculous, utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. And this happens across the board. I don't give a dang what your background is, or your racial orientation, or however you want to call it.
Mm.
It happens across the board. You cannot point the finger at any one group and say, "Yeah, y'all do that." Nope. Human nature.
Yep.
It happens to everybody.
Sure does, man. Crazy.
Yep. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you guys for tuning in with us. Just to drop this off with you guys, the National Domestic Violence Hotline number is 1-800-799-7233. Again, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, their number is 800-799-7233. If you feel that you are a victim of domestic violence or domestic dispute, whatever the case may be, this is a number that we looked up, took the liberty of looking it up to share with you guys, because we don't want to have these type of discussions without giving you some type of information that you can find helpful and useful. And again, use that number. That's what it's there for.
Find a trusted friend or somebody that can help you in those situations, because whether you're the aggressor or not, this stuff shouldn't be happening. It just shouldn't be happening. It leaves a negative impact on all parties involved, and people need healing. So get yourself healed in whatever way that you need to, so that you don't have to put yourself in these type of situations again, whether you're the aggressor or not. And just think about who all this affects when you're going through this stuff like that. So that's all I have for this one. Thank y'all for tuning in again. It's me, Soul Touch of the Poet, and my brother
Son Soul Lex.
Definitely check us out, www.kingandourlife.com, where you find all the links to whatever you need to get from us or reach us and all that good stuff. That's all I have.
Yes, sir. And you guys check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And again, on YouTube, hit those likes, share, and subscribe. Do that for us if you would.
Yeah. And we'll have more content coming up on YouTube. We will be doing it. But that's all I got. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll holler at y'all.
Deuces to the truces.